I'm speaking with Thomas Goetz here. He is the executive editor of Wired and the author of Decision Tree, Taking Control of Your Health in the New Era of Personalized Medicine. Thomas, thank you for joining me.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay. Thomas just conducted a presentation for us here at the event, and it was quite well received, obviously. I enjoyed in particular the Q&A comment that you got immediately afterwards. But you touched on a really important point, and I think that there is a difference between your concept of engagement and what we normally in the medical field would consider compliance. Can you elaborate on that for us?
Yeah, so this is something that I've been thinking about just really since writing the book and talking with a lot of doctors and drug developers and basically people who kind of wrestle with the problem of getting people to do what they should do for their health.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a huge frustration. It's a huge frustration for physicians in terms of getting people to follow their doctor's orders.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a huge problem for those physicians that their patients may not be diligent about taking their drugs. And then, it's a problem if they're not taking their drugs, it's a challenge for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the way that medicine tends to talk about that is in terms of compliance or adherence. And besides being kind of technical terms that no one can understand outside the field,
Mm-hmm.
they are unfortunate. Those terms are unfortunate in the sense that the way I talk about it is they refer to binary choices.
Mm-hmm.
So you're either doing something or you're not, and most of us are probably not doing what we're supposed to be doing in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't think that I guess the frustration is that doesn't really mesh with how people go about their lives. If people miss a dose, or if they forget their pill bottle when they go out of town for a weekend, even though they might be technically non-compliant or non-adherent, they're not doing this out of malice, or they're not doing this kind of out of hostility towards the drugs or their physician. It's just not the way that their lives go.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like one of the things that we can do better is recognize the patterns that people actually engage with their health, and use that framework, use that much more less clinical and much more visceral or emotional sense,
Mm-hmm.
and use that as the fabric to communicate how people make decisions in their health and about their health. And I think in that line, there's much more potential for improving things like compliance or adherence.
Well, you made an interesting point in the presentation as well, and that was you spoke about basically the difference between looking for a scientific answer, and certainly based on your background, you obviously are a believer in science, versus a behavioral answer
Right.
to this dilemma. And you just mentioned behavior, and I wanted to throw an interesting acronym back at you, and that's IWF. Can you tell our audience about that?
So IWF was what I just kind of came up with it for this conference, but it was my attempt to articulate what I call information with feeling. So that's where IWF comes from, and it's really this duality between emotion and rational thought. And so much of you see this dialectic all over the place, right? It's either the head or the heart, or emotion or reason,
Mm-hmm.
and it's usually phrased as one or the other. And in healthcare, too often we're on the emotional or on the rational, cerebral, clinical side,
Mm-hmm.
and not really on the emotional or visceral side. And I don't think I guess I reject the presumption that it has to be one or the other. And I feel like there needs to be, especially in this day and age, we need to find ways that deliver information, scientifically credible, valid information, real science in effect, but deliver it in a way that resonates with people emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
And there, I think, is a path towards improving behavior, improving the way people think about their health,
Mm-hmm.
and improving the way people do what they're supposed to do. And in that, I, as you said, I'm a big believer in science, but it's not I think it's important to realize that it's not a new thing. This is not a new idea. It's not like we need to go out and discover a new technology or a new science in order to solve this problem. We know what the problem is, and we have a set of tools that address it. We just have to kind of figure out ways to put those tools, namely behavioral change, into effect in a way that works for a great body of people.